So I think we're going to go ahead and move on to the next group. All right, please welcome group number 7. Their project is titled OpenDoor. They're from Vienna, Austria, Maria and Philip.
Hello? Okay. So, welcome everybody. My name is Maria. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm going to be presenting our business to you, and that is called OpenDoor. Before I talk about OpenDoor, let me tell you where I come from. I'm from Vienna in Austria, and I guess most of you, when you hear Vienna, they think classical music, they think nice palaces, churches, people taking their horse-drawn carriage to work. We do have all that stuff. We have the music, we have the carriages, we have palaces and churches. But the buildings that I think about when I think about Vienna are apartment buildings, because that's where I live, and that's where basically everybody lives. So we have about 60,000 apartment buildings in Vienna, and the one thing they have in common is that they need to be managed. The companies managing apartment buildings are called property management firms. And we found out that property management firms have one really big problem. That's what it looks like. Keys. Billions, trillions of keys that need to be managed. And I want to point out that those are not the keys to apartments, but those are simply the front door keys. Usually they manage hundreds of thousands of keys within one company, and that is just one cupboard. That picture was actually taken by us during a site visit to a company. Usually they have about 3 times as much or even more. So you can imagine that's a lot. So what's the first drawback that comes to your mind when a key gets stolen and somebody can now enter your front door? Because that's what those keys are for, front doors of apartment buildings. Well, something can get stolen. Somebody can get in that you didn't want to, they can steal something, they can do some damage. And there's a lot of other drawbacks. So the problems with keys are they are limited in number. You don't have as many as you want. Second, they get lost or they get stolen. So it's hard to replace a key, it's a big hassle, and if you have to replace the lock for a key, that becomes really expensive too. And finally, you can make duplicates. So even if a property management firm gets their key back, they can never be sure whether there hasn't been a copy made, and all in all, that's security, time, and money issues. But enter OpenDoor. We give property management a better system of access control. How do we do it? Well, you need to know what a typical apartment building in Vienna looks like for knowing how we do that. So that's it. That's a front door, and that right there, that's the intercom. So it's next to your front door. And what we do is we attack the intercom. And we don't attack it really, but we upgrade it. So by upgrading the intercom, we can do 2 things now. First of all, that intercom can be managed remotely through a system, through a software that we wrote, the OpenDoor software. And that is distributed to the property manager. And the property manager can now turn any smartphone into a key. So you don't need the physical key anymore, but it can be your smartphone. And again, that is administered by the central software. So that's still very abstract. Let me show you a little more practically. If that's your intercom, what we do is we screw off the lid, put in our device, that's the black rectangle in the middle. Then we put up an antenna, that's the only part visible of OpenDoor in the end. We hook it up to electricity and the door, screw the lid back on, and that's basically the magic. And the next time, when you walk close to it with your smartphone, if it is enabled by our technology, that is what happens. Ba-ching, the door is open. So how does that help our property manager, John? Well, remember all these keys he had towering over his head? He doesn't anymore. Now they're in his computer. So the next time a handyman needs to come over to one of his buildings to do some repair works in one of the hallways, for example, John doesn't have to contact him, he doesn't have to meet with him, he doesn't have to make an appointment to hand over the key, he doesn't have to keep track of that key. Usually property management has extra personnel for all of that. He doesn't have to do all of that anymore, because what he does is he distributes a virtual key. And once the work is done, or once John thinks that somebody should not be able to enter that house anymore, he revokes the key. That's what we do. But how are we different? So we compared ourselves to other items that upgrade intercoms. First of all, there's post keys. And to understand post keys, let's have another look at our door. And this is where the post key goes. So it's a small lock in your intercom, actually. Second, we have BG cards. They work like the post key, but instead of putting your key into a lock, you swipe your card. And finally, sort of the pinnacle of the evolutionary ladder of access management, we have OpenDoor. So we compared ourselves on 5 different dimensions. First of all, is it replication safe? I'm not exaggerating if I say it is unbelievably easy to replicate a post key. Everybody who wants one can have one, and it is really not expensive. Finally, BG card isn't replication safe either. It was actually hacked, and I'm going to get back to that later. OpenDoor, on the other hand, uses a different kind of system. So BG card uses an RFID token, which is not encrypted, whereas we use a smart card. So replication safe, we definitely win on that one. Finally, with us, you don't need an extra device. You already have your smartphone that is either NFC or Bluetooth Low Energy enabled. With the other 2 items, you will need an extra item, so it's inconvenient. Then we can offer you online management and wireless updates. I mean, a post key doesn't need to be updated, but BG card actually does need to be updated. And how it happens right now is they come over to your door only once a year to update the system. That's really not a lot. We can do that remotely, and we can do it in real time if you want to. Finally, talking about real time, we can monitor who accesses your buildings and when. And if you feel that somebody shouldn't do it anymore, you can revoke that key instantly. So that's really how we see ourselves. I already talked about the evolution. We see ourselves currently as the top of the evolutionary ladder in access management. And that is also how we will market ourselves and brand ourselves. That's how we're different. How do we stay different? Because that's really important. First of all, we're talking to an IP attorney about having our technology patented, and he's really doing the research right now, actually, about doing that. But we think that's not enough, so that's why we are establishing strategic partnerships that are going to help us maintain our competitive advantage. One of them is with a property management firm that is called Online Hausverwaltung. Hausverwaltung is simply a German word for property management. And we have electricians. And these partnerships are really important to us, and that is best explained by looking at how we create and capture value at OpenDoor. So what we do is we design a product, but we don't design it based on a mere hunch, but we do it in close cooperation with our partner, the Online Hausverwaltung. Online Hausverwaltung is not only our partner for development, but they are also our first customer, having already pre-ordered 100 devices, and they are our first investor. Also, we cooperate with SBA Research. Remember when I told you that BG card was hacked? They are the ones that hacked BG card. And they went to BG card afterwards and wanted to tell them how they did it, but BG card wouldn't listen. So now we are working with them to actually figure out how to improve the system. Next step is manufacturing. That part is outsourced to a company outside of Vienna. Currently, we have 2 companies bidding for that contract, but we cannot reveal at this moment who they are. The next step in how we create value is the distribution and marketing of our product, and that's where the electricians come in. Because electricians are the experts that people listen to when it comes to building access management, building safety, and intercoms, of course. And finally, there's the central administration tool, the software, and the app for your smartphone. And that is what OpenDoor does on its own. That's the creation of value, and we capture on it by selling the device and the software and having a service subscription to our app. Talking about numbers already, or about financials, this is the first chart I want to present to you, which is our cumulative cost and revenue. So you can see we break even about in year 3 at about $600,000. And you can see after that spot that our revenue model kicks in, where we are based on subscription and where we really grow exponentially in revenue. Giving you more concrete numbers, we start making a profit in year 3, growing exponentially after that. To get to the point where we can pay our own bills and sustain ourselves, we are asking for a funding of $250,000 at a calculated net present value of $3 million. Our margins are pretty healthy, I would say. So we have a margin of 60% on the device and the software, and one of 70% on the app. I want to point out that those numbers are solely for the Viennese market. But of course, we have bigger plans in mind. We want to expand, and one of those possibilities is to expand geographically. So there are really big other markets right next door, actually, of Vienna. So there's the rest of Austria, there's Switzerland, and of course, there's Germany. And altogether, that's about 3.3 million apartment buildings that have the same properties as Viennese apartment buildings and where we really think we can make a difference with our system. Finally, we are also thinking about growing by diversifying. So it's not just apartment buildings where we can use our technology, but we found out that hotels in the German-speaking area are right now investigating how to save their clients the hassle of actually having to check in. And what they want to do is, they want to install something, but they don't know yet what it really could be, something so they can send keys to a smartphone so that a customer doesn't have to check in. So we're really looking into that. And of course, anybody who has ever worked at a large company knows that you will have a key card to enter certain doors. Well, I mean, it would be easier to have that on your smartphone because you always have that on you anyways. So we are about to be incorporated, and we are actually just at the beginning, but we're already thinking about exit strategies because we know if you invest in us, you'll want to know how you get your money back. So we see 3 options. They are, of course, pretty generic right now, but one of them is to sell to other investors. We do believe that we will attract more attention once we are really getting started. Finally, we think that we will be able to sell to another company, for example, an intercom manufacturer who actually wants to integrate our service and our product as a default setting. And finally, we really believe in the product. We really believe that we can make it work. So we would like to point out that management buyout after a couple of years is definitely an option for us, and we are confident that we will get the necessary funding. I've been talking about we and us a lot. Let me please quickly introduce you to our team. So on the left-hand side, you have the technical expertise with Philip, who's sitting right over there, and Bernd. Philip is going to do business development and operations. Bernd is actually an experienced entrepreneur who has already started a company, and he's doing software development. And on the right-hand side, we have the commercial and business expertise, which is Jason, who's doing design and financials, and me, who is doing marketing and sales. So together, we are OpenDoor. OpenDoor. We give property management a better system of access control. Thank you very much for your attention.
Great presentation, thank you. First question is, I didn't see anything on your team about security expert, and I would think that that would be one of the greatest concerns about the technology. I can envision the movie already where somebody hacks the system and gains access to all the apartments. So what are you doing about that?
That's right, and I'm glad you brought this up, because remember when we talked about the BG card was being hacked? Well, that was Adrian Dubrovsky, and we have since then talked to him, and he was willing, because BG card, our competitor, denied working with him and denied that there was a problem. So he said he wants to work with us and he wants to make a better solution, because this is also his research topic, and we think that with him and his SP research company, we can really make it safe. This is, once again, our biggest concern, to make this as secure as possible.
I think I'm not quite clear yet on how the actual application works. So how does the key get to the smartphone? What's the technical process here?
So the property management company distributes the key. There will be a web interface where they can choose the building and have, for example, an electrician, a makler, for a real estate makler. They select them and grant them access for a certain period of time. This could be unlimited or limited on time. So that's one. So once this happens, he selects the web interface. The application on the phone of this user will have a certificate given on it. So what actually happens when we enter the door is the certificate, the mobile app, talks to the device, which is connected to the intercom, and the intercom, the device makes sure that you have an access key. Does this clarify?
Yes, thank you. I was kind of thinking of other opportunities market-wise, and I was thinking, for instance, with Airbnb, where you can go and stay around the world in other people's homes and apartments. You know, the hassle there is obviously the key thing. How do you get the key? How do you drop the key off? So I was wondering if something like this could be
exactly
developed
but
for that
once
purpose.
again, I want to emphasize that we are really focusing on the front door, because for tenants' doors, there are a lot of competitors out there, and it's really difficult to compete with them. But we really focus on the front door, because for property management firms, there's not a lot out there, and we believe that this is a bigger market.
It's very interesting. It seems to me your biggest challenge is the number of potential customers. I mean, you guys presented a very large number of apartment buildings that would be potential customers. So what is your selling strategy to touch those people economically?
Well, first of all, we have the electricians who will in the end install our product. And right now, if a property management firm wants to upgrade the intercom or have something changed, they will talk to their electrician on what products are available. So we already talked to some electrician and locksmiths, so we're working on that. That's one part. But we also want to convince the property management firms on their own as one, and go to them and talk to them. Because usually one property management firm, as Maria earlier pointed out, manages 1,000 buildings. So if you convince one company, you won't only sell one device, but you will sell a lot of devices at once.
I'd like to add to that, as I pointed out, the online Hausverwaltung, so the company we are already working with, he is actually very active in a lot of very property management specific forums. So he is definitely one of our advocates, of course, to get the word out there in Vienna. And once we have a proven concept in Vienna, we think it is going to be comparatively easier, of course, to go from there.
Now, I know you'll never get my mother to use a smartphone, so I imagine there's a lot of folks who not everybody in Vienna, I presume, has a smartphone. So what happens if several people in the apartment building don't have smartphones?
Well, first of all, the primary use will be for the contractors. And if you remember the slide with the door, which has the front door right at the doorknob, but next to it it's in the intercom. So that's two devices. They can still keep the old key, which is for the front door.
But then doesn't that defeat the purpose?
Well, the post key is also another lock. It's at the intercom. Remember that picture where we pointed out that the post key goes into the intercom, not at the front door. You see?
I think where the confusion is that we are actually, or property management hands out keys to people who have very irregular access. So tenants would have regular access, they have the keys.
Okay.
But people with irregular access, for example, a handyman, a craftsman, somebody from an insurance who has to do some work in that house, those people or those interest groups are the ones that property management has to interact with, and that's where it's really a hassle to manage all these keys.
I see. Okay.
So that's, I think, where the confusion stems from.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the tenants would still enter in the same way. Okay.
Of course, yeah. But they
All
can
right.
also choose the new system if the house owner wants to use this system, OpenDoor.
And have you the prices that you gave? I think you said $250 per install and then $10 per month. Is that did I
Yes,
get that
yes.
correct? How did you come up with those numbers?
Well, first of all, before the installation, we looked at the price of our competitor, and they have two products actually. The basic version, which sells for $120, and the advanced version, which sells for $220. But then again, we have a lot of value added to our product, so we believe that we can charge more for it. Mm-hmm. That's for the retail price. For the subscription fee, we offer service. Example, for our competitor, the model they have, if you need a new key, you will have to call up the company. They come to you, install the new key, and charge $30 for that each time. So we believe we'll give them kind of a flat rate for distributing new keys, but charge a monthly fee instead.
Okay, so but you're not charging the users, like the postal people will still, you're not charging them, right?
Right.
Okay.
That's another point. This makes our business a bit complicated to explain. We will have to equip all organizations like post, firefighters, police, and emergency response teams with keys. So if they won't use smartphones, we pointed out earlier that we will have also smart cards, which are similar to tokens.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Let me see the questions from the audience here. Okay, how do you stop hackers from breaking into the app and gaining access?
That's a good question, yes. Well, of course, we have one. I study computer science on my own, and we have one already very experienced computer scientist on our team. That's Bernd, my cousin. And then again, we'll have a security company, SBA Research, do a security audit, not at the end of our development process, but they will guide us during the development process. And at the end, they will be like certified by them.
Mm-hmm. What if the battery in the cell phone runs out? Can you not get in?
You had a good answer to that yesterday, remember? Everybody looks...
A lot of people like that question.
No, but usually everybody is so concerned about the battery life of the smartphones that they will care about this. And this is, once again, also, we are not finished with our product yet, but this is also a look into the future. And as time goes on, we believe that the battery capacity of smartphones will increase.
We have time for a couple more? Okay. Okay, with such a crowded market, like for example, RFID and others, the product offerings have to compete on price. How do you make sufficient margin? And have you thought about what your margin would be on something like this?
Our product is once again really tailored to the front door, and there's not a lot of solutions out there for the front door. I mean, for example, in the US, there's a lot of products. You see Lockytron, maybe someone have heard of that, and some other competitors, which really focus on single houses with one family living inside them. But we then again, we focus on apartment buildings, and we tailor our solutions to property management firms.
So this is like a niche.
Right.
And all your apartments are very similarly set up with a similar kind of system that you're taking advantage of.
Yeah, maybe I can add to that the Central European market in that respect is of course different to the US market.
Yes.
So we've experienced that here in the US there's some confusion sometimes about that, but actually in Central Europe that is a niche and that is really not well served, not at all.
I see. Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.